Welcome to BYP Network webinar discussion on how to build your brand as a Black entrepreneur. I am Oke Ayolomo, BYP Lagos lead chapter, and I'm really excited about this webinar and the fact that we are joined by our speaker, Oreoluwa Ayo-Fisher. She is the founder at BreakintoTech and also a leading voice in personal branding. So quickly, I would like to share the agenda with us, the event agenda for today. So on the agenda, we have welcome and introduction. We have about BYP, brief introduction of our founder and speaker. We'll have panel discussions, questions, answers, summary, and thank you. But before we go on with our discussion, I would like to know where you are joining from. And also, if you'd like, you can tell us what you do or your profession. We'd like to get to know you better.
I'll go first.
All right.
My name is Katlego Mashego. I'm joining you from South Africa in Pretoria.
Wow.
I'm an industrial psychologist by profession.
Okay.
I'm currently working at Momentum Metropolitan, but I've been trying to branch out, for quite a few years to do my own private practice, particularly in career development of the youth in the South African space. And that's me. I'm also an actor and a singer part-time, and I've been featured in 2 movies in Zanzi Magic.
Wow, that's a lovely profile. It's nice meeting you.
Thanks,
Right, that's great. I would like to go next. So that we can keep up to time, I'll just go straight to tell you about BYP. All right, BYP simply stands for Black Young Professional Network, and it was founded by the need to connect Black professionals and students from all over the world for role model visibility, career opportunities, business support, and ultimately to solve our own problems. Our vision is to change the Black narrative, and our mission is to advance the careers of millions of Black professionals enabled by Javelin, which is our career advancement platform. Now, how Javelin works. It is simply our AI-powered system that matches users to opportunities provided by our corporate partners, including jobs, events, and content. Users can join relevant locations-based and industry-based groups so they can gain knowledge, networks, and upskilling content. So if you have your phone there, you can simply scan the QR code, and then you have access to join Javelin. Let me tell you a bit about our founder. Her name is Kike Oniwide Agoro. Kike Oniwide Agoro is the founder and CEO of BYP Network, which is a multi-million-pound company advancing the careers of Black professionals globally. She holds a BSc in economics from the University of Nottingham, University of Florida, MSc Management Scholar, and she's an ex-Great Britain Javelin thrower. Kike is the vice of the London Chamber of Commerce, Black Business Association, and the board of Getting on Boards, charity, and an alumni of the World Economic Forum Global Shapers. At the age of 30, Kike has received over 100 awards in sports, academics, and business, breaking glass ceilings as one of the few Black female founders to raise over $1 million. Motivated to change the Black narrative, she founded BYP Network to address workplace diversity and lack of opportunities, with over 150,000 members and 1,600 corporate clients. Kike is a Forbes 30 under 30 Maserati Top 100 Most 10 Women in Technology. She definitely has a very excellent profile. Then about me, I am a digital creator and a storyteller, and I'm passionate about African history and Black community. Through my YouTube channel, History in Motion, I use my graphic design skills to create captivating visuals that brings African history to life. My work is dedicated to educate, inspire, and bring African stories to the forefront. And now I'll be saying a little bit of introduction about our speaker, Oreoluwa Ayo-Fisher. She's the founder at BreakintoTech, and she's a Nigerian believer and soon-to-be graduate from the African Leadership University in Rwanda. She loves both technology and people, making her a natural fit for product marketing. Navigating the tech industry as a business student inspired her to help others from diverse backgrounds and break into tech. BreakintoTech founded to connect students with mentors and resources, empowering over 300 students across Africa. She utilizes a platform with over 5,000 followers to share career and personal branding advice for African university students. Notable accolades include the MasterCard Foundation Scholarship, winning the Laura Brainstorm competition, features Pulse Nigeria, and speaking engagements at youth events across Africa. Oreoluwa, would you like to say a bit about yourself? All right.
Yes. Hi, everyone. Hi, how are you doing?
I'm fine.
Thank you so much for inviting me for this. Okay, this is an amazing event, and we founded it in terms of setting this community up, to empower Black entrepreneurs and Black professionals. And yeah, I'm excited to share a bit about what I do, and answer any questions that you guys might have.
All right. Thank you so much, Horace. Thank you.
Thank
All right,
you.
I would like to use this opportunity to make a shout out to my community executive, Mr. Femi Alayande, and to all calls. Thank you for your efforts so far. We do not take that for granted. All right, so the theme for today is on how to build your brand as a Black entrepreneur, and we'll be diving into insights into personal branding, strategies for navigating challenges, utilizing technology for business growth. All right, so I will stop sharing my screen right now so that we can get into full discussion with Oreoluwa. Okay, you're welcome once again, everyone. Fagbeji Taiwo, thank you for joining.
I'm not sure if it's my internet or something, but like it feels like it's cracking over here. So I'll just put off my video so that you guys can hear me well.
Okay.
Well, okay, guys. So in this session, I think for the first half, we'll only be looking on the first two questions, right?
Yes.
Which is around importance and yes, how to differentiate yourself through personal branding. So this session is mainly around personal branding, which I think a lot of us might be familiar with. So I would like if anyone can, put their voice into, because this is going to be a conversation, not me just presenting and talking. I feel like it's better for us to have a discussion around things like this, and we can ask questions at any time. So yeah, if anybody would be willing to share what they know by personal branding, feel free to unmute your mic and let's talk about that. If you want, you can put in the chats, unmute yourself. Either one works.
Give it a go.
Yeah,
Hello.
sure.
So my understanding of personal brand is kind of the signature as an individual. So if I use myself as an example as an industrial psychologist, my personal brand would be kind of the not necessarily the accolades that I've had, but also the value that I can add into any business if they choose to use me as a consultant. So it's around how I want the world to perceive me, what my values are, what I want to be aligned with, and kind of what the image that I want to portray out there is about myself.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you so much for sharing. That's amazing. So your personal brand, as you said, is basically around your signature, perception. And a quote that I personally like is from Jeff Bezos, where he says, "Your brand is what other people say about you when you're not in the room." And I think this is powerful for me because I realized that regardless of how much you can brand yourself or how much you tell people, it's not about what you say, it's about what people hear. And your brand goes beyond just how much packaging, how much selling of yourself. It goes to your values, your habits day to day, things that you do and people see. All those things come together to add to your brand because it's a case of when you're not in the room, what do people say about you? What
Mhm.
is that specific thing that they know you for? And I like the fact that you mentioned value because that's something that we'll be getting into. And I have a picture here of like one of the best brands in the world, Apple, because I think they've really sold what a brand should look like. So right now I'm currently in the US for a program and I recently went to like one of the Apple stores and literally like the store it gives like an atmosphere of, luxury, but in a minimalistic way, and it's like this is who they are. And from their phones to their marketing to their stores, that's literally the brand that they've maintained. And so when you think of them or when you want to mention like or a phone and you're having like a conversation about them, what comes to mind are those certain things that you see. And that's what they've sold you on. Um, and so that's why they are a very good example. So when it comes to as Black entrepreneurs, personally, I like to use African entrepreneurs. I don't use Black unless I'm probably in a place like the US because in Africa, I'm African. Um, and we rarely use the word Black. But I feel like as an entrepreneur, there are certain things that come into place when building a personal brand. And actually, I feel like it might be best for us to look at the importance before looking at the tips so we can understand why we even need to build a personal brand in the first place. So, me mentioning Apple, I like to compare business brands with personal brands because it makes it easier to understand. And also, they have very similar elements and principles that align with both. So, but the advantage with a personal brand is that people connect more with people. So when you build a personal brand as an entrepreneur, you're most likely going to build connection, trust, and loyalty with people, and they would feel obligated or motivated to also support your business by so doing. So it's like if you already have a personal brand on, for instance, LinkedIn, and you share advice, you speak to people about your story, and people connect with you as a person, as an individual. When you tell them about your business or your enterprise, they would feel like they're supporting you and not the business. So they will feel an obligation to support Ore as an individual and not BreakintoTech as a business. And so what happens there is that they've already connected with me and my business brand benefits from that because they already trust me as an individual. They've already developed a deeper connection, and they believe that whatever I bring out, whether it's BreakintoTech, whether it's a different business entirely, they trust that it's going to be of good quality or it's going to do what it says it's going to do. So it's very important in helping you connect with your target audience. In addition, it helps you to like something that I saw in the vision of BYP of changing the Black narrative. I think that we as Black entrepreneurs these Black entrepreneurs, we as entrepreneurs in general, I feel like we have a huge part to play in how we change that narrative. And it ties down to the brand that we sell ourselves on or the brand that people know us for. Because unfortunately with media has definitely sold the story of Black people as being one of the worst people on the freaking earth, and a lot of people don't want to associate with us based on the stereotypes. And based on what the media has sold them on how Nigeria is or how South Africa is and how the people are. But when you have a personal brand where you actually get to tell your story and you tell your own story, not let someone else tell the story for you, your brand is able to inspire other people and empower them to do the same. So for instance, with what I do, I'm only going to give examples of my personal experience because that's what I know best. I don't want to advise you on something that I haven't done myself. So on my personal brand, one thing that I have noticed is a lot of people will reach out saying that, oh, thank you for sharing. Because what I do on LinkedIn is I basically just share about my university experience, uh, my life as a founder, as well as an African, as an international student. I don't study in the US, I studied in Rwanda, but I'm graduating in like 2 weeks. And people reach out, a lot of students reach out, a lot of other entrepreneurs reach out, talking about how, they're empowered by that and they want to share their own story. Or people who aren't even entrepreneurs yet reach out and say they have a similar idea that they want to execute. Based on the fact that I shared my story, they feel like they can do the same. And with that now, we are able to everyone is able to tell their own story. And just through your personal brand, you've empowered a lot of other Black entrepreneurs to do the same. And in relation to that, based on the stereotype from media and, what is the word called? Would I say discrimination or something? Yeah, basically discrimination. I think we also face that, especially when competing in a global market where you don't have the privilege that a white person does. You'd often face certain challenges, and that's something that I would also be talking about as we continue in the session. But your personal brand can definitely help you overcome that challenge of unconscious bias that people have towards you, or people stereotyping you, based on the color of your skin, which is basically outrageous. But your personal brand is a way for you to show your expertise and show your credibility. So that way it makes it harder for people to make biases that will cloud their judgment. And so what that looks like is in situations of you trying to get funding, for instance, or trying to build your network, especially where you're relating with people that aren't just from your country or from your continent. If you have a personal brand that is strong, people can use that as a way of seeing your track record, and that would give them more courage and motivation to want to work with you or want to give you funding or want to connect with you in any way. And that also now connects to the last point of the fact that it positions you as well as a leader, making it easy for your business to attract more forms of partnerships. That's including talent, including funding, including any other form of partnership that you might be seeking. And I think one thing I've personally noticed with me is that a lot of, especially like students who are looking for opportunities, a lot of them reach out and like, oh, can I volunteer for you? Can I work with you? Can I intern? And it's because they've already connected with me as a personal brand and they feel like they want to be a part of what I'm building. So some of them don't even know, they might not even be as interested in the company itself, but in working with me, they feel like they can trust me enough to, want to work with me. And so these are certain points that I've noticed as a Black entrepreneur, why building the personal brand is very important, not just for me, but also for the other Black entrepreneurs who are yet to come, and who are also trying to build their brand as well. So now, going back to the tips for building a personal brand, my experience is basically has been on LinkedIn so far. And the tips I'll be sharing will be based on that, because I said I would not share or give you advice that I personally haven't done myself. So for the first tip, the most important tip personally to me, which Catlego beautifully mentioned, is discover your value first. Why this tip is very important is because your value is basically what your brand will be built on. And your brand is basically equal to your value. So what I found is that a lot of people want to build a personal brand, but they don't know themselves. And what that results in is just people just talking about different random things, having no sense of direction and no sense of worth. And that in the long run affects like the brand you build and what people know you for. But if you already know who you are, you know what value you want to bring to the table, you know what certain areas or subject matters that you add value on and you have expertise, then it'll be easier for you to build a personal brand based on those things. The first thing you need to understand, or first question you need to ask yourself rather, is what impact do I want to make? If it's on LinkedIn, if it's on Instagram or whatever other platform you're using, what impact do you want to make? What is your purpose, or what is the core purpose that is guiding your brand? By setting these things down and understanding, okay, the mission is to empower graphic designers per se, then that would help you to know, okay, it would help you to know the other points that I'll even be covering. That is like your target audience, what channels to use, people to connect with. So your value is always the most important thing to start with. And then after understanding what value you want to have and the impact you want to make, define the people that that basically need that, the people that you're trying to target with that. So what people you want to connect with. And this would help you to understand how to tailor your message on that specific channel. So with me now, I think I identified from my business, like, okay, I'm mainly trying to help youth break into the tech industry. And I want to also find a way to connect with university students, generally, not just people in tech, but like based on my own experience as a university, as an undergrad, how can I also help other university students, make their own journey easier and seamless? And so what I did was just developing a brand around that and targeting those particular people. So that is university students in and out of Africa, mainly actually for Africa. Yeah, mainly for Africa. And then also people that are university students in Africa that are interested in youth in tech, sorry, in particular. So this helped me to know what kind of messaging to use, know how to communicate with them, know the language that I'm using, the tone. And this made it easier for me to also know what kind of platforms to reach them on. So in building your your personal brand, your online presence is equally as important in knowing, okay, what platforms are my target audience using? And how can I reach them on those platforms? So I think for me, it was quite straightforward. I'm talking about something professional, entrepreneurial. LinkedIn makes more sense. And it was also a way of me trying to encourage more people to, be active on LinkedIn, especially university students. So it was a great platform for me to use. So in building your online presence, know which platform to even use based on your target audience, and know how to maintain consistency across all platforms if you're using numerous, which would be the last point. Let me actually just go to that last point, in fact. So in building your personal brand, consistency is, I don't want to say key because that sounds cliche, But I think a lot of people tend to, especially when you don't clearly define the first step of your value, a lot of people tend to just rush into it, and then after a while they get tired, and then they back down, and then they just, continue with their life, and then completely neglect their current brand and their followers and their community. But if you're building a personal brand, then make sure that you try your best to be as consistent as possible, because it's not a marathon. It's a marathon, it's not a sprint. And what that means is that it's not like there's a particular destination that you get to where you say, okay, yeah, I've gotten to this point, let me stop. Because at that point, it means that you have nothing else to share. You have no other form of advice, or you are not interested in like connecting with your audience anymore. So it says a lot about you. And also it means that you've gotten what you wanted, and then you're done with it. But if it's a case of you're trying to be your personal brand for a specific particular reason, maybe it's been you want to get a job, you want to grow your business through that, then make sure that you're patient in knowing that, okay, I would eventually get what I want. Let me enjoy the process. And once you do get what you want, don't abandon that completely, because your personal brand grows as you grow. So and that's why I think I love like personal branding, because it's not it's for a particular individual, and individuals are multifaceted. Individuals are complex, and we change, and we're dynamic. And so as you evolve, your personal brand as well evolves. It's not like a business that is most likely going to have like the same mission for over how many years, or have like the same products. And with you now, as you evolve as a person, as you go through different experiences, and you as you encounter different challenges, the personal brand is able to tell those stories and evolve in the same manner. And it's important to show up regularly for your audience, because that's your community. Those are people that are counting on you, and they actually want to hear your story. And the final point is, when building a personal brand, it's important to connect with other people in your field. And what that looks like is collaborating on projects, attending industry events, participating in online communities. So if you're building a personal brand on LinkedIn, for instance, it's good to connect with your target audience. So that's people that you're trying to reach, connecting with them just beyond, not just posting and then replying to comments, but actually connecting with them one-on-one. If people reach out to you, connect. And if they reach out to you for a good reason, connect with them and see how you can add value to them on a more personal level. And get to know what else do they want from you, in terms of like what more can you do to improve? Because it's just like a business, like I said, you always want to talk to your customers and find out how to improve and how to meet their needs. So that will also help you improve your personal brand. And then also connect with professionals that are way above you, or entrepreneurs that are way above you as well, because that would also help you in understanding how to go about your personal brand, especially if the entrepreneur is also into personal branding. Learn from what they're doing, engage with their posts, and develop a personal relationship with them, so that you get like personalized feedback and advice on your own journey. And how you can do that is by finding and then also, yes, finally connect with other entrepreneurs that are around the same level as you, that are also building the personal brand, because those are the people that you most likely be able to collaborate with more often, as they are also maybe in the beginning stage of their business or on their journey, and you guys can relate to certain experiences, and you guys can find ways to partner and collaborate, especially if you're in the same field, and that will make your journey easier, having people along with you for the ride. And you can find those people through various industry events. So that means you being active and resourceful to find events where you can, meet people. And then also in online communities. So like what we do, even BYP is a great example. Attending events like this and actually connecting with the speakers and also the people that attend. You never know the similarities you might have with the next person. And connecting on online communities like LinkedIn, of course. And for BreakintoTech, what we're trying to do is provide list of mentors for youth to develop a relationship with to help them advance their careers. And there are a bunch of people that are also into entrepreneurship on that platform. So seeing platforms like that that align with what you're trying to do and finding people who you can easily connect with on those platforms. Yeah, that's very key. So that's mainly what I had to share in terms of that. And when it comes to differentiating yourself, I think in following these tips as a Black entrepreneur, especially when you're in an industry where there are a lot of competitors, firstly, I would like to actually say that I don't think that as Black entrepreneurs we necessarily need to feel the need to compete. Something that I heard from like one of the founders of or the founder of my university, he's called Fretwanika. We're having a conversation after like the Africa Business Hero Summit or at the competition, and I told him of how like one of the people that are competing are doing something similar to one of the ventures that he has. It's called ALX, and but the person is mainly focused on like in North Africa. And so I was like, oh, does he feel like the person is going to become a competitor? And he was like, oh, he doesn't focus on competition. And it felt silly to me initially, but it was like if you focus on your competitors, then you limit yourself to their standards when you could most likely be above that. So it's a case of when you keep on looking at someone and you're like, okay, let me just make sure that I'm a bit above this person, or let me just make sure that this person doesn't surpass me. You're going to continually be at that person's standards, and that could be way, way, way below your potential. So in terms of differentiating yourself, first of all, just realize that you're really just competing with yourself at the end of the day. And once you're able to figure out what your value is, clearly communicate that. And I think your value is what really differentiates you, because everyone is different, especially as individuals. No one person, no two people, actually, no two people in the entire world have the same DNA. And that's for the reason being that we each have our own purpose. We each have our own reason for being alive and being in this particular place. And God knows why He brought you here. He knows why you're having this vision in your head of what you want to execute. He put that vision in your head for a reason. And so when you clearly understand what that is and understand how to communicate that, I feel like you'll be very, very, very good. And obviously in developing your expertise as well, because it goes beyond you just communicating, but it also goes to the point of you showing, through the things that you produce, through the kind of quality of work that you give. So I'll say it's very important that you know your value, know how to communicate it, but also do what you say that you do. So your the level of expertise that you bring to the table should be at par or align with how you say or how you communicate it through your personal brand. Yeah. So if anyone, I don't know if we'll do questions now, okay, or afterwards.
We're going to do questions afterwards. So thank you so much.
Okay.
You shared a lot of valuable insights on personal branding And if you're just tuning in or just joining us, Ore has been sharing so much insight on personal branding and tips for building a personal brand. So that leads me to my next question, Ore. How can Black entrepreneurs differentiate themselves from the competitive business landscape?
Yeah, that was the last thing that I answered.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll just reiterate the points then. So what I was talking about in terms of competition was the fact that firstly, I think that, sorry?
Right. I think I get that now. When you said you are not in competition with anyone, rather you're in competition with yourself.
Yes. And obviously I
Okay.
know like in the business world, you're going to face competition and you're going to be in a space where there are a lot of other brands maybe doing something similar. With me now, I'm in that space currently, and there's the challenge of, okay, if they don't use your brand, then they'll most likely use a different brand. And I think one thing that has saved me is like my personal brand itself, because people feel the need to connect with Ore. They know Ore and they feel like, oh yes, BreakintoTech is Ore's business. Let me support that. Let me advocate for that, or let me patronize that. So it's like having a personal brand would also help you to be competitive. And then in terms of your value, like I said previously, I think I always go back to value, because I think it's once you're able to get that in place, it would be way easier for you to, stand out in the competition, because people can clearly tell, okay, what value do you bring to the table? And they would know what to go to you for. So I feel like it's just important to, know how to communicate that value, know how to build your personal brand based on that. And also, like I said, do what you say you're going to do, because your reputation precedes you. So it's like, I said your reputation precedes you. So it's like, based on the reputation that you develop from work that you do, projects that you deliver, services that you offer, that is what people will know you by as well. So if you say you're going to do something, make sure that you do it that way, because that would go a long way in differentiating you. Because if other people aren't able to do that, but you maintain that reputation of always delivering in terms of quality, in terms of, in terms of effort, they will know you as that kind of person, and your brand would also be perceived in that way.
All right. Thank you so much. All right. So this leads me to my next question. How can Black entrepreneurs navigate through challenges?
Sorry, come again.
How can Black entrepreneurs navigate through challenges?
Okay, so I also prepared a slide for that. And just like a simple slide just to cover. My slides are very, very minimalistic, guys. I'm currently doing the program, and it's like I had to wake up at like 5 a.m. to join this session. But I think for me, the main things that I wanted to just cover in terms of challenges of a Black entrepreneur, like certain things, like I said, I would only speak on my experience and experiences of those around me. So the program I'm even currently doing is for entrepreneurs in Africa, and a select few of us are in Silicon Valley to learn from the technological environment, the business environment, and use that to impact our business ventures on the continent. And these are certain challenges that I've seen we face. Firstly, is lack of access to capital. I think that also stems from the fact that a lot of, as compared to white people, let me just put it like that, as compared to white people, we don't have as much access to funds and capital. The other day we went to Y Combinator, and one of the founders, or one of the people that went through the program, was talking about how she was able to get like $100 million or something in funding or something like that, some outrageous amount. And she was saying it like casually. And I'm like, bro, do you know how many people on the continent it would take to get that? Like, just for, even just in Nigeria, I don't know how many people are able to get that amount of funding. And for them, their like that amount is normal for them, and that's something maybe they can even just get for like 6 months or something, and they get another one like another 6 months. And but for us, we don't have access as much. And ways that we can overcome that is, firstly, bootstrapping. I personally am bootstrapping at this stage because I don't have as much my business is not capital intensive. And I feel like if you realize that your business is not as, and you can use, money from your own your personal funds, your personal finances, your savings, your, whatever, I'll say go for it. Don't stress yourself in trying to find funding or find that investment and stuff like that, because it's a lot. There's a lot that goes into that. So if you feel like, what you have can do, then go ahead. Also, you can also find people around based on like your relationship with them who would be interested in like funding your business. And then be resourceful in finding out about accelerator programs that exist in your space. Because I feel like a lot of people aren't aware of the opportunities that would, that would give you access to this capital that you're looking for. So do a lot of research to find out what kind of funding is available for Black entrepreneurs. I know that Google does like they back companies that are in tech. And like they do this sort of what's it called? I don't know. I don't know if it's an accelerator, but like I know they basically provide funding to African entrepreneurs or Black entrepreneurs. So like finding those different programs that suit you, align with you, will definitely help you to overcome that. Then another challenge we have is lack of access to mentorship or a network to help us grow our business. And basically this could come, where you're in a situation where people, based on where you're from, are not as interested in connecting with you or whatever like that. And you basically don't have as much access to a large pool of entrepreneurs, or you don't have access to a large pool of venture capitalists or people who are in the field that can guide you and act as advisors. Because like in this space now, especially in like Silicon Valley, for instance, like there's such a huge pool of those kinds of people because they are in this space, but we are in Africa and we don't have as much access to those kinds of things or those kinds of caliber of people. But I think how you can overcome that is by building your own relationships. As a Black entrepreneur, you would really have to take control and take responsibility for your own journey and for the things that you want to have. So if you feel like, okay, Africa doesn't have this or we don't have as much access, then build it yourself. Find ways to get it. Don't complain. Don't lament. Don't, be discouraged. Use that as a motivation to go harder. Because what you're finding now is that a lot of people, especially people that are like white people, basically, that have access to a lot of these things, they can sometimes take advantage or like take it for granted rather. So they can take it for granted. Meanwhile, somebody else, who just finds out that, oh, I can actually access this thing, they'll make sure that they leverage on that as much as possible for their benefit. So when building your relationship, use different platforms, find out about like other platforms where you can build relationships with people to build your network. Um, Find out about ways to, connect with people who are more experienced as entrepreneurs, as founders. I know they're different. Like I'm currently even taking this ALX course, which is around it's a venture academy or founder academy course, and basically we are provided with a list of mentors, people to connect with, people who are in the startup world, and those kinds of things really help you to develop and build your network. So being resourceful again is important. And then another challenge is in relation to negative stereotypes that could limit the scale of the business. And in how to overcome this, we go back to personal branding again, because when you have, like we mentioned in the importance of building a personal brand, when you have a strong brand identity, it basically cancels out any form of judgment or bias that people could have against you based on the color of your skin, because people now know what you can do. People now know that the stereotype is not true because you're an example, you're an exception. Even though I mean the stereotype most likely isn't true and most people aren't what the media portrays, but like once you're able to tell your own story, you basically get rid of every form of negative stereotype that could limit your scale. And people can now also know more about the African story and know like how Black people are and how resourceful we are, how much of hustlers we are, and how much quality we are able to produce. So I'll say in developing a personal brand, that's like those are certain things to highlight, because you're not just doing it for yourself, but you're also representing a complete, like a whole continent by doing that. Yeah. So those are certain challenges that
Okay.
I feel
All right.
would
Thank
add
you so
value.
much,
Yes.
for shedding so much light on that. We're almost running out of time, but quickly, I would like to ask you this last question. I know that you are a woman in tech and you are helping people break into tech, right? So how can Black entrepreneurs leverage on technology to achieve business growth?
Yes. So in terms of leveraging technology, firstly, technology is so broad. Uh Tech in itself is just a tool. And your tool is just meant to help you solve a problem. So the first thing I'll say is be obsessed with the problem and not the tech. We recently went to Google X, which is basically like a moonshot factory for Alphabet, the company. And one of their mission, one of their mission or their main mission is around like using technology to solve like problems through radical solutions. And like the three things that they highlight there are: one, it needs to be whatever idea. So what they basically do in the factory, just for context, is they develop solutions. Yeah, using tech. So an example is like self-driving cars. They are the founders of like Waymo, which is a self-driving car. I think it's mainly in California though. But they do those kinds of things. Like they develop like drones, VR kind of things, headsets, stuff like that, basically that solve problems in different ways and are novel ideas. Um, and so one of like the certain things that they mentioned when it comes to an idea that they develop in a project that they work on is the project must have three things. One, a huge problem. Two, a breakthrough technology. And three, a radical solution. And the man mentioned that the most important of those three is the huge problem, because the other things basically come or stem from the fact that there's a problem. So as an entrepreneur, always, first of all, clearly I highlight and define what your problem is and understand that, okay, from my problem, I'll be able to know what tools to use and what solution to develop using those tools. And yeah, so from that, you'd also know what, you know, based on like the specific goals that you have and the stage that you are at in your business, you can know what kind of tech tools to use. Again, the tech is just a tool. And so certain challenges or certain goals that you might have would be like, okay, maybe if you want to analyze data, use Google Analytics. If you want to find a way to collaborate across teams, use Slack. You want to find a way for to design your website or WordPress. Want to reach a wider audience, social media, that's technology as well. Google Ads. If you want to develop a novel solution, VR, AR, and AI are trends that there's a lot that still needs to be done, and there's a lot that can still be done with them, with those tools. So using them as part of your solution would also be a way of developing like something that hasn't been done yet. So based on like leveraging technology, tech is like huge, like a very broad term. And you just need to understand, okay, what's the specific problem that I'm trying to solve? What tech tool can help me solve this problem? And then within the organization, what stage are you at? Because if you're trying to do something with AR, for instance, and you don't have the resources, you don't have the capabilities, then find an alternative. And also, you don't necessarily have to have technical skills in order to use tech in your business. One, you can find someone who does, who can help you in implementing it, or two, you can do it yourself using, maybe if you want to find like code a website or you want to build a website and you're not a developer, use your no-code website. I use Wix for my website and I built it by myself. And I didn't have to use anyone because I just knew, okay, this stage I'm at right now, this is what I can afford. And this is the goal I'm trying to achieve. So based on where you are at, just assess and see what tools will help you and what you need to achieve or accomplish by using those tools. So yeah, I think that's mainly all that I have to share based on those. And yeah, I don't know. Are there any other questions? Okay.
All right. Thank you so much, Ore. So to the audience, if you have any questions for Ore, you can do so now. You can unmute your mic or simply type in the comment section to ask Ore.
I have a question.
Whatever. All right, yeah, you can speak.
So my question is around the personal branding. I mean, maybe it's a complex question that I'm asking, but I just wanted to check, is it possible to have multiple brands? So say like as a psychologist, I want to have a brand, as a performer, I want to have a brand, and then kind of merge the two to kind of create an entrepreneurship opportunity. Is it possible to have multiple brands, and would you recommend it, or is it better to just stick to one?
Great question, Lego. And yes, it's definitely possible to have multiple brands. I think that similarly to like I said, with a personal brand, you're an individual and you probably don't have one thing that you're interested in, or you don't have one focus area in your life. Nobody does. And if you feel like I want to develop a brand on those different areas, then by all means, go for it. I want to share something. Let me see if I can. So I personally have a content calendar that I have developed to help me with managing my personal brand. And with this content calendar, what I do is I outline what are the setting goals that I have across the different brands I'm trying to build. I'm one individual, but I have different areas. So one, I'm trying to build a brand that is focused on helping people break into the tech industry. So around early tech careers. I'm also trying to build a brand to help university students build their own brands. I'm also trying to build a brand as a product marketer because that's my field. And if I were into, I don't know, if I were into, let me just say, singing or acting, then that would also be something else that I'll be building a brand on. And then for each particular theme or each focus area, you need to understand, okay, same thing. Who is my target audience? What specific channel should I use? What kind of content am I creating for those? and what is the frequency as well? Because that would also help you know, okay, how do I manage building these multiple brands? Yeah, so I feel like if you have multiple brands, definitely go for it. Just understand how am I going to manage this what channels am I using? For me, I'm using LinkedIn for each of them, but I have different days that I post. And for you now, you can decide you want to use Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, and also clearly define what days your target audience, what kind of content to reach them on. Yeah, hope that helps.
Yes, thank you so much.
It's a pleasure.
Okay, great. Thank you, Ore, for sharing the insight on that. If you have any other questions, you can ask.
Hello, my name is Sharia. First off, I just want to say this is amazing. Thank you for this presentation. A question that I have is what, I don't know, maybe tips or advice do you have for someone like me who's building a personal brand and you need outside support, but you don't have the capital for it, like to be able to pay them? Oftentimes, in addition to my personal brand, I have a business where I actually help people with their marketing and business and creating strategy. But sometimes I don't really have the language and I don't want to come across offensive to maybe another creative who's also or another professional in my industry to say, hey, I'd love to work with you, but I can't, I don't have the capital at the moment. But I do believe that my personal brand and my business is at a point where I do need, support from people who have other areas of expertise. For example, like photo shoots, things like that, that I just don't have the capital for at the moment.
I think, can you please repeat again what the questions are? I wasn't able to follow very well. If you don't
No,
mind.
yeah. What tips would you have for communicating with someone that you'd like to work with that maybe your form of payment may be, I don't know, either delayed or it might be a matter of like bartering services? So I have things that I could offer them in exchange for what they offer me.
Oh, okay. Thank you. I think hmm, I'm trying to think if I've ever had that experience before. So in terms of like bartering now, I think I've mainly just had that experience with organizations who want to sort of partner. But I think if you're trying to communicate that, okay, if it's possible, since you can't probably pay them in terms of like money, and it's like, okay, can we do some form of exchange based on the services you offer, based on services they offer? Then firstly, just like state that from the beginning. If someone approaches you for like a partnership or like they want to work with you in any form, and you assess like, oh, the amount of money that you have or funding or finance that you have with you at the moment, and you can't pay them or whatever like that, then try and see, okay, what kind of value can I offer this person? What do they need that I could potentially provide through my business or through my personal brand? Something that I do to some extent is there's some certain brands or certain people, or would I say, yes, certain brands basically that are in the same line as me. And then I don't necessarily have like anything to give them because they're a bit ahead of me. So what I do is like I use my personal brand to just talk about them, to do some form of free marketing for them, and then they will be willing to work with me, or like they are in that way, like I'm sort of paying them for like working with me, and partnering with me. So like finding just ways to offer them value without monetary exchange, I think that could work. And then in terms of communicating it, I feel like it's just you stating like what, letting them know that, okay, at this stage of my business, this is what I can offer. What do you need? And maybe before that, you can assess like what the company actually needs or what the person needs, and then know if you have that so that you can offer that particular thing that they need through your brand. I hope that answers. I'm not sure if I really understood the question well, but I hope that provides
You
some form
did.
of
Thank
clarification.
you.
Okay, thank you so much, Oreoluwa. So this is the final question. Someone is asking, Fagbeju Taiwo, that is it advisable to stay glued to a particular branding and watch it succeed, or try different alternatives at a go?
So when you say particular branding, what do you mean? If you could just unmute and let me know.
Fagbeju, are you there? Can you unmute? I guess he's in a busy place.
Oh, he's on transit.
Yeah.
Watch
Okay.
it succeed or try different alternatives. Okay, let me try and see if I can. Is it advisable to stay glued to particular branding and watch it succeed or try different alternatives at a go?
Probably
Honestly,
what
I would
you say.
say,
Okay, you can go.
probably probably try one thing at a time. Firstly, like if you have a personal brand that you're trying to build, and it's just like a business, actually. Let me use that. It's just like a business. I was speaking to an entrepreneur on Friday, and I was asking if like he intends on like leaving his company and starting another one like very soon. So like it's called like giving the power away in terms of delegating his position to an entirely different person, like a CEO, for instance. And so that way he can go and develop another business in maybe a different industry or whatever it is, and like be a serial entrepreneur. And he was like, it's even just having one business is like headache on its own. It's huge, a huge amount of work. And now imagine having to manage like 3 at a time. So I think
That's not
it's
advisable.
always good to start off with one, and then from that one you can learn about or learn from it and know what mistakes did you make, how can you improve. I think that you learn from that, from just that one, would help you to improve other ones, would help you to develop the other ones that would be even more successful than the one. So I would say probably just focus on one thing at a time. It will help you managing
All right.
it better.
Okay. Thank you so much, Oreoluwa. We're about rounding up now. This meeting is being recorded, so you can view it on our YouTube channel at BYP Network. Thank you so much, Oreoluwa, for joining and sharing so much valuable insight on personal branding. And to all our audience, thank you so much for joining in. Stay connected and keep building. Do have an amazing day.